I was wondering if any of you have any bright ideas about how we're going to deal with the increasing legacy cost of both current and retired teachers in the face of particularly declining enrollment almost completely across the board.
Is that directed to the entire panel or anyone in?
Anybody that wants to answer?
Well, I'd be glad to jump in and say I think we have to look at the private sector and find out how they're doing it. And defined benefit plans are not the way to go. Defined contribution, 401k, those type of approaches where it becomes an individual's responsibility. And I think also ultimately a blessing over the long haul, to be able to take that responsibility to care for yourself, to put away funds for purposes of the future, and I think the benefit from what a truly capitalistic society can produce. We just can't continue on with the type of plans that were in place. I know when I was in the legislature, I was part of the legislature, did away with defined benefit and put the new legislatures on 401k. We put cost of issues in place as well, dealing with things like increased co-pays for state legislators. I think that has to go across the board.
This question is for Mr. Walberg. Having worked with kids who have come from very poor backgrounds, didn't have the advantages that our kids had in this area, and they are now struggling, I would like to know how you can justify voting against Head Start programs.
I can justify it for only one reason. I didn't vote against the Head Start programs. I voted against a provision that the Democrat majority put in that would have disallowed Catholics, for instance, from choosing who they hired for those programs on the basis of long-held convictional, theological belief systems. The provision was in the Head Start bill that I voted against that would have disallowed that from taking place, whether it was a Catholic organization or a Protestant organization, from determining who they would and wouldn't hire. And that was the only reason I voted against it, and you would have known that had not the opponents and the opposition just simply categorized it as a vote against Head Start when it wasn't. I made it very clear in committee, and I made it very clear on the floor of the House, along with many other of my colleagues who understood that after my courageous vote, saying we believe in First Amendment liberties, and to mandate that you with long-held theological beliefs cannot determine who you hire based upon those beliefs. That walks away from not only a long tradition, but the Constitution.
This is for Mr. Walberg. Earlier in the month in Jackson, you said, and you implied tonight too, that the federal government has no place in education. Because you said that, would you, how do you feel about, would you cut funds for disability students? And if not, what did you do?
No, I'd love to increase funds for disability students by leaving it at the local level and state level, and letting the locals decide how to use it best, as opposed to bringing it to a huge monolithic monopoly, as it were, the U.S. Department of Education. That really shouldn't be there. Can we do away with it now? Well, Reagan couldn't get it to happen, so I'm not going to say we can, but I certainly would love to see it gone. Leave the dollars back here, where we can use it with understanding of what we have as far as needs. Absolutely not. And when you can show me in the U.S. Constitution one point that says we have a responsibility for educating anyone in the United States, as opposed to saying the states have the rights, the responsibilities, and the powers to do that, and they have that under their constitutions, and we stand in the way in too many cases. If you can find a constitutional provision for education in the federal Constitution, I will change my position.